It started in the corner office of Silvergate Industries, a place where the young associates often thought themselves untouchable. Friday afternoons had a way of loosening tongues and inflating egos, and this particular Friday was no exception. "Come on, we have to do something fun for tonight," laughed Mason, one of the senior associates, leaning back in his chair. His expensive watch glimmered under the fluorescent lights. "That networking dinner is boring every year. Let's spice things up." Carla, another associate known for her sharp tongue, twirled her pen between her fingers. "Spice it up how?" Mason grinned mischievously. "What if we set up a blind date for Emily? She's been begging us to introduce her to someone, right?" Emily, their colleague, rolled her eyes but smiled faintly. "I did not beg, I just said I wouldn't mind meeting someone decent." "Exactly," Mason said, his grin widening, "and I have the perfect candidate." Carla raised a brow. "Who?" "The janitor," Mason declared, lowering his voice as if revealing a punchline. "You know, Samuel, the guy who cleans the lobby every night." Carla burst out laughing. "No way, that quiet guy with the old mop and those beat-up boots." "Yes way." Imagine the look on her face when she realizes her A-date is the janitor. "Priceless," Mason said, almost doubling over in laughter. Emily frowned. "That's mean. He's always polite when I pass him." "Relax," Mason waved her off. "It's just a joke. No harm done. He won't even know it's supposed to be a date." But Carla, ever eager for drama, chimed in. "Oh, come on, Em, it'll be hilarious. Besides, it's not like he'd actually sit with us. He'll probably just decline. And that's that." Against her better judgment, Emily kept quiet. The teasing pressure of her colleagues made her feel like objecting would make her the joke instead. And so the plan was hatched. Samuel, the janitor who had quietly swept their hallways and emptied their trash for years, was unknowingly about to be thrust into the center of their cruel entertainment. Samuel was finishing up his shift when Mason approached him. "Hey, man," Mason said in an unusually friendly tone. Samuel looked up, cautious. Few in the office ever addressed him beyond a passing hello. "Evening," he replied. "Listen, there's this company dinner tonight at the Grand Oak Hotel. You should come. Free food, lots of people to meet, and, someone's expecting you." Samuel tilted his head. "Expecting me?" "Yeah," Mason said with a smirk. "Let's just say there's someone who'd like to get to know you better." Samuel hesitated. He wasn't used to being invited to company events. His role usually kept him invisible, and he liked it that way. But there was something curious in Mason's tone, something that made him wonder. And besides, he hadn't had a proper evening out in ages. "All right," Samuel said slowly, "I'll come." The Grand Oak Hotel glittered with chandeliers and polished marble. The banquet hall was alive with the sound of laughter, glasses clinking, and the low hum of a piano. Emily sat at the long table reserved for Silvergate employees, her stomach twisting in knots. She hadn't wanted this. She had imagined meeting someone kind, someone Rella, not being set up for ridicule. She had tried to protest earlier, but Mason and Carla had brushed her off with laughter. When Samuel walked in, wearing a clean but modest shirt and trousers, the table fell into a hush. He carried himself with quiet dignity, though his hands betrayed a life of labor, rough and calloused. Mason nudged Carla. "This is going to be good," he whispered. Emily's eyes widened when Samuel approached their table. She recognized him instantly and felt her cheeks burn with shame, not for him, but for what her colleagues were doing. "Evening," Samuel said simply, nodding at the group. "Samuel, over here," Mason called, patting the seat right next to Emily. Emily wanted to melt into the floor, but Samuel, unaware of the joke, smiled politely and took the seat. The dinner began, and conversation flowed but mostly around Samuel, not with him. "So, Samuel," Carla began, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "tell us, what do you do at Silvergate?" "I maintain the building," Samuel said calmly. "Clean the offices, keep things in order." Mason chuckled. "Ah, so you're the guy saving us from dirty coffee mugs and paper jams, huh?" A few people laughed, though some shifted uncomfortably. Emily glared at Mason but stayed silent, unsure how to stop the growing cruelty. Carla leaned forward. "Do you a broken bar even own a suit? I mean, if you're going to company dinners now, you'll need one." Samuel's expression didn't change. He simply said, "No, I don't own a suit. The table erupted in muffled giggles. Mason whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Maybe Emily can take him shopping after their first date." Emily's face flushed red. "That's enough," she snapped, surprising even herself. But her words were drowned out by laughter. Just as Samuel placed his napkin on the table, as if preparing to quietly excuse himself, a new voice cut through the noise. "Is there a problem here?" The room went silent. At the head of the banquet hall stood Gregory Hale, the CEO of Silvergate Industries. Known for his sharp intellect and no-nonsense demeanor, he commanded instant respect. Everyone froze, their mocking smiles vanishing. "Mr. Hale," Mason stammered, "we were just a broken bar having some fun." Gregory's eyes narrowed. "At whose expense?" He walked slowly toward their table, his gaze settling on Samuel. Then, to everyone's shock, Gregory extended his hand warmly. "Samuel," he said, his voice filled with genuine respect, "I'm glad you came." The associates exchanged bewildered glances. "You a broken bar know him?" Carla asked, her voice trembling slightly. Gregory looked at her with something between disbelief and disappointment. "Know him? This man has been with Silvergate longer than most of you. When I first started this company, we rented a tiny office downtown. Samuel was the one who stayed late nights, making sure the place was safe, clean, and ready for us every morning. He believed in this company before half of you even knew it existed." A stunned silence spread across the table. Gregory continued, his tone sharper now. "While you were mocking him for his job, did you know he put 2 kids through college with that salary? Or that he's been volunteering at the veterans shelter every weekend for the last decade? Tell me, Mason." "Carla, what have you done for others lately?" Mason's mouth opened, but no words came out. Carla looked down at her plate, unable to meet Samuel's eyes. Emily, her heart pounding, felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She glanced at Samuel, who simply sat quietly, as if none of this surprised him. Gregory turned to the group once more. "Character isn't defined by the title on your business card or the price of your suit. It's defined by how you treat others, especially those you think you don't need. Tonight, you've all failed that test." The words hung heavy in the air. Then Gregory smiled faintly and patted Samuel's shoulder. "Thank you for all you've done, Samuel. This company wouldn't be standing without people like you." With that, the CEO returned to his seat, leaving the associates in stunned silence. No one laughed after that. The rest of the dinner was subdued. Mason and Carla hardly touched their food, their arrogance replaced by shame. Emily leaned toward Samuel and whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't want this to happen." Samuel gave her a gentle smile. "I know." She blinked, surprised. "You do?" He nodded. "You looked uncomfortable from the start." "You have a kind heart, Emily. Don't let their games change that." Her chest tightened at his words. "You don't deserve any of this. You deserve respect." Samuel simply shrugged. "Respect isn't something I demand. It's something people choose to give." And tonight, some chose poorly. In the weeks that followed, things shifted at Silvergate. The story of the banquet spread quickly, how the CEO had silenced the room by praising the janitor. Employees began greeting Samuel warmly in the halls, not out of pity, but out of newfound respect. As for Emily, she often found herself seeking Samuel out, chatting with him during her breaks. What began as small talk grew into deeper conversations about books, family, and the quiet strength required to live with dignity. One afternoon, she asked him softly, "Did you ever feel humiliated that night?" Samuel smiled. "You only feel humiliated if you believe their words matter more than your truth." "I know who I am." Emily realized then that what she had been searching for, a genuine connection, had been right there all along, hidden behind a mop and a quiet smile. Months later, at the next company dinner, Samuel didn't sit in the corner or arrive as a punchline. He was seated beside the CEO himself, introduced not as a janitor, but as a man who embodied the company's values of loyalty, humility, and strength. When he stood to give a short thank you speech, the entire hall rose in a standing ovation. And in that moment, the room that once mocked him was filled with silence. See, not of cruelty, but of reverence, because they all finally understood what the CEO had seen from the beginning. Greatness doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes, it carries a mop, works quietly in the shadows, and teaches everyone else what true dignity looks like.